The Rams get a big win against the Bills. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, SI, Bleacher Report, Dodgers Nation, the Rams for Locked On. As always, I'm joined by the Rams pre-half and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He's in his 9th season covering your Los Angeles Rams, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And on today's episode, the Rams get their best win of the year. They improve their playoff chances. It was a wild game against the Bills. We're going to break it all down. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks brings you the best picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. All right, Travis, it was a wild one. It was giving me Chiefs versus Rams vibes 2018. Yep. I mean, it was just a game where you thought the Rams were done, and then the Bills kept coming back. You had a secondary that was struggling at times. You had Josh Allen's going absolutely insane. Crazy stat about this one. Crazy stat. The Rams gave up 6 TDs to Josh Allen. They also were the first team in NFL history to allow 6 touchdowns and force no turnovers to win. Previously, teams were 0-4 and 245 in games like that. So it was an improbable win, but the Rams get the win nonetheless. And to me, my biggest takeaway is they proved they can beat an elite team. They proved they can go toe-to-toe with a Super Bowl contender. Yes, it wasn't pretty, but they got the win.
Yeah, I'm with you on all of those points, Doug. You know, you could put that stat that you just gave us kind of right next to the one where that Monday night game that you mentioned at the Coliseum against the Kansas City Chiefs a few years ago, where the Rams won that one 54-51. That's the first and only time a team had scored 50 points and lost an NFL game. The Chiefs had 51 and lost that game. So, you know, the Rams have been on the right side of both of those weird games. It was a tremendous win. Their offense looked like the Rams offense that we've been waiting to see, dare I say, for a couple of years. Like that was an unbelievable performance by Matthew Stafford, an unbelievable performance by Puka Nacua. And I'm sure we'll get to the offensive line at some point. I thought that was their best performance of the entire season. But you said it. I think this gives the Rams and Rams fans in particular, Locked On Rams fans, some hope going into the last 4 games of this season, because you did see them beat a really, really good team. And they beat a good team not because the other team laid an egg, but because you played a little bit better than they did. It was a great win for them, a confidence builder. And, you know, now they got a short week to go up to San Francisco and try to really build some momentum because they're finally on the right side of 500.
No doubt about it. And like you point out, the defense wasn't perfect. They weren't perfect at all. You gave up 42 points in 21 minutes at one point in this one, right? So you win a game like that. And 2, you look at this team all season, like you mentioned, that this is the offense that you hope to see with weapons like Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, both playing great in the same game. Kai Williams and Blake Corum, both feeding off each other. An offensive line that was doing a great job in the run game, that was protecting Matthew Stafford against a Bills team that doesn't like to blitz a ton. And you also saw a Rams team score 30 points. I mean, think about this. This Rams team had scored 30 points once all season heading into this one. And right now you put up 30, you beat this Bills team, and most importantly, you keep pace in the NFC West. The Seahawks, they still go into and they still win, and the Seahawks are a team that really could come into SoFi Stadium in the last game of the season, and that could be a game that determines who wins the NFC West. So the Rams, they get over 500 for the first time all season. You keep pace with the Seahawks at 1 game back, and this feels like a team that, yes, maybe their entire roster does not stack up with a team like the Bills or the Ravens or the Chiefs or the Detroit Lions or teams like that. But young talent still getting better and emerging. The top end talent is still at the table with the best of them. They still have elite talent that can step up. So that to me is the big. We're going to get into kind of the nooks and crannies of this game, but the big takeaway is you proved that the ceiling for this season is probably higher than we thought even just a week ago.
Yeah, I think it's come full circle, right? Like think about what we've talked about over the course of the 2024 season. Here we are 14 weeks through the season. They're finally over 500 for the first time all year. They had 3 cracks at it before this. They finally get it done on their 4th try. But go back to training camp. Go back to what we thought this team was going to look like. And, you and I both have been doing this long enough to know that what you think it's going to look like is rarely what it actually ends up being. It just, there's 100 different twists and turns. But at the beginning of the season, I think if you would have said to an informed Rams fan, what is this team going to look like? I think the answer would have been, well, they're going to score some points for sure. It's a question about whether or not the defense is going to be able to keep anybody out of the end zone. Aaron Donald's not there. What is Chris Shula's first-year defense? What is Jared Verse? What are their draft picks going to look like? But the offense should be fine. Fast forward 13 games later, 14 weeks later, we're a couple of weeks away from Christmas, and we finally got that. It took 13 weeks to get there, but we finally got they're going to score. Matthew Stafford, 300 yards, multiple touchdowns, no interceptions. Puka Nacua killing it. Cooper Kupp doing all the dirty work, getting in the end zone, making a tough catch. The running game kind of supplements the passing game. But man, oh man, they didn't get a single stop all afternoon. That finally happened. It took 13 games to get there, but now we got to see if that defense that was there in the middle of the season, the early part of the season, can get back to where they were. Because if they can get a stop or two, and like you said, we'll get into this as we move through it. I think a lot of the defensive problems on Sunday were not necessarily defensive problems. They were Josh Allen problems.
Yeah.
So I think we can talk about that, but the defense is going to have to be better over these last 4 weeks. And if it is, who knows, man? Here we go. This is a hallmark, I think, of a great coach. They're better at the end of the year than they are at the beginning, and the Rams are certainly playing their best football at the best time.
No doubt about it. And speaking of that Josh Allen problem, you also got to really feel good about the Rams about the fact that they go for that QB sneak when they did, that lost the game for them. So there's some game management problem, too, for the Bills that really put the Rams in a good position to win this game. But I think you look at how this Rams started this football game, the game plan was there. We talked about it on the preview show on Friday, that if there's a weak area to this Bills team is you can't run the football on them. And that very first drive, I think, really set the tone. 7 rushes on that drive. And you had Kyren Williams going out there setting the tone. He ends up running it 7 times for 27 yards on that first drive, and the Rams go up 7-0. And I think, to me, when it really felt like a wild game was you got that block punt, man. The second drive for the Bills, a block punt. Jake Hummel gets in there. Absolute game changer. How about Hunter Long? I didn't think I'd be saying Hunter Long's name today, and he ends up scooping it up, scoring it, going 22 yards for the touchdown. And that put the Rams up 17-7. But it turned out that really we talked about the defense, and we're going to talk about the defense in depth for sure. But I think one of the plays that no one will be talking about today is that play by Cameron Kinchins stopping Mac Hollins from getting that touchdown before the block punt. It's kind of one of those things that I think is the identity of this defense is, they're not going to stack up with the best defense in the NFL as far as EPA and some of these advanced stats, but they will kind of make a play when you need to, just to keep you in it, prevent something catastrophic, and give this offense a chance to just keep them in it and win games for them.
Yeah, that was a big play. And, when you have a game like this where there's so many offensive plays, you can kind of go back a million different times and say, I like this one or that one. I thought a big play was their very first drive of the game. They had a 3rd and 7, and the first 2 plays really were not very good. And you're like, oh, my gosh, they're going to do it again. They're going to run 3 plays and be off the field, and Josh Allen's going to go down there and score, and we're off to the races. Instead, Matthew Stafford throws a strike to Nacua down the right side. It's a first down. They keep the chains moving. They end up going down, scoring a touchdown on their opening drive for just the second time all season long. It was a huge 3rd down conversion. They were great in 3rd down all day long. I think they were 11 out of 15 on the day. Might have been even 12 out of 15. It just got off to a great start. And like you said, I know we're coming full circle. It reminded me so much of that Chiefs game where every time they snapped the ball, you expected them to pick up yards. Every single time they snapped, both teams. It was just a matter of somebody going to mess up. Is there going to be a bad coaching decision? I think you mentioned the decision to try to sneak it there was not great for the Bills, but Rams fans will certainly take it.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. I think that was definitely the way this game played out. Both these teams were throwing haymakers and they were landing punches all day, but it was the response by both teams that made it a very entertaining football game. I mean, you look at what you're talking about, the big plays for the Bills. I mean, you saw when the Rams did take that lead at 17-7, the Bills came right back, and you got a 41-yard touchdown by Ty Johnson on that screen pass, and Johnson basically went untouched in the end zone. They're right back in it, but it was the response from the Rams after that, and it was a methodical drive. They go 76 yards on 12 plays, take a 24-14 lead. You get that 4-yard rushing touchdown by Puka Nacua, who, by the way, was fantastic. As you point out, he certainly gets a game ball today. Puka Nacua definitely gets that game ball. But to me, it's, you need more design runs. You need to have the ball in his hands without having him run a route. And I think that we kind of already knew that, but this kind of reemphasized that. But coming up next, we're going to continue to break down this one. Might need to do like a double 1-hour Locked On Rams. Really finish this. We don't have time. Travis doesn't have time for that, but we're going to definitely keep moving here. We got lots to still get into here with the Rams' big win. The Rams are back, baby. Playoffs are very, very possible. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
All right, Locked On Rams fans, I know that you are probably a lot like the rest of us, me for sure. Your holiday shopping list is, let's just say, it is far from complete, if that's a good way to talk about it. Well, if that's the case, a great gift for the passionate sports fan in your life. Perhaps you've heard of Ice Shaker. Ice Shaker is now officially licensed with the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, Major League Baseball, and it's a great gift, right? Created by and used by the Gronkowski brothers, Ice Shakers has sold over 1 million bottles. They've changed the game with workout bottles, and this is the gift that you've been looking for. So go to iceshaker.com, use the code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout to save 25% off of your first order. We're talking about a kitchen-grade stainless steel bottle that won't absorb odor like plastic bottles do. We're talking about it being customizable. You can send your logo. You can check out the custom shop to customize your favorite bottle. So turnaround time on the custom bottles is usually just about 3 to 5 business days. It's a great, great gift. So order your team-branded bottles today at iceshaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for 25% off of your order. Ice Shaker, show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market. That is Ice Shakers. Also, let's talk about Prize Picks, right? If you love watching the game, you're going to love Prize Picks. You're probably playing Prize Picks right now, but just in the case that you haven't, it's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. Whether it's football going on right now, the NBA is in full swing, maybe you are a hockey person like me, any of your favorite sports, Prize Picks makes your holidays bigger and brighter. And right now, you can win up to 200 times your money on Prize Picks. And this holiday season, they are giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pickmas and offering 2 free picks in December, right? So download the Prize Picks app today. Just pick more, pick less. It's super fun, right? You think Matthew Stafford's going to throw for more or less than his projection? That's what it is. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly when you play just $5. Prize Picks, run your game.
And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, a special shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. And you should join that Everyday Listeners Club too. All you got to do is watch an episode every single weekday, sometimes on the weekends, and you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. All right, Travis, here in our second segment, we're going to talk a little more Sean McVay, because Sean McVay has kind of people, McVay's game management, use timeouts, stick to the run. Like, look, his game management and his game plan for this game was the best I've seen in a regular season game in pretty much 2 years. I mean, when you look at the points, when you look at kind of this team coming into this game and winning a game they weren't supposed to win, even though I did pick them to win 31-30. And I took some heat from the Locked On Bills fans. But look, this team going in and scoring 44 points, that was the most against a Sean McDermott team since week 1 of 2018, when they gave 47 points to the Ravens. So this is not a Bills team that gives up 40 plus. It's not a Bills team that loses games when Josh Allen gets 6 TDs. So it was an improbable victory. And yeah, I got to give Sean McVay a lot of credit because he outcoached McDermott in this one as well.
Yeah, I think so. And a couple of things here that I want to kind of talk about. Number one, and my co-host on my daily radio show, DeMarco Farr, pointed this out to me on the Travis and DeMarco show. And then when I was doing the pregame show before the game, the voice of the Rams, JB Long, kind of re-emphasized it as well. So when I heard it from two different people that they both said the same thing, I went, okay, that's got to mean something. And what they both told me was Sean McVay was involved in every position group meeting all week long. That Sean McVay wasn't just game planning this, but he was actively involved in each and every group. He's involved in the tight end group, the wide receiver group, the O-line group, the running back group, the quarterback room, all the side on the defense as well. Like, he had reinvested in what was going on this week. And, you know this, I know this, Doug, everybody that's an everydayer here knows this. When your boss sits in on the meeting, you sit up a little straighter. You're a little more plugged in on what's going on. And I think the results really showed on Sunday afternoon against the Bills. So that's number one. Number two, they blocked, Doug. They blocked with 5 guys. And what it allowed them to do was put 4 wides on the field, which we really haven't seen all season long. Look, he only had 3 catches, but Tutu Atwell, and everybody that listens to this show knows I'm not the world's biggest Tutu Atwell fan. He was terrific. He was absolutely terrific. He had the 4th down catch to keep that drive alive that ultimately led to that Puka screen pass touchdown along the way. But you put those 4 guys out there together, and with Tutu's speed and the threat of him running down the field, it opens up a lot of things for those other 3 guys. But you can't do that unless you block it up front with just your 5 offensive linemen. They didn't have the tight end on the field a ton on Sunday afternoon, and it changed everything. It opened up that offense a lot. Hopefully against San Francisco, they can do the same thing. But the only way that works is if your 5 offensive linemen play really well. And like you mentioned, this is a game that had 86 points, no turnovers, and no sacks. The Rams didn't get home, but neither did the Bills. There wasn't a single sack in that whole game. It was a great performance by the offensive line. So I'm with you that because the line blocked, it allowed McVay to really get in his bag, and the Rams put up an offensive performance we haven't seen in a long time.
100%. I think, too, it's the aggressive calls for Sean McVay. I think really the play of the game for me, of course, there was Puka Nakua's incredible 2-toe tap sideline catch that was beautiful, just an absolute gem right there. But as far as the play call, as far as the situation, as far as its impact on the win probability, it was the Rams going forward in the 4th quarter, 4th and 5. They're at the Bills' 35-yard line, and you get the 11-yard completion to Tutu Atwell. A couple plays later, Puka Nacua, he gets in the end zone with his 2nd touchdown. Maybe he goes down, and that probably helps him. But still, go in that 2nd touchdown, take that screen pass 19 yards. That puts the Rams up 44-35. That put it out of reach. It was 1, aggressive. 2, you have Joshua Carty, who's been inconsistent for the past couple of weeks, so you don't put the game in the hands of in the leg of your kicker right there. And then you look at the flip side we talked about a little earlier, is Sean McDermott going for a QB sneak on the 1-yard line that forced the Rams to really go in and get that stop and stuff, and then force the Bills to use that timeout. Then you got to play the onside kick game. When you get the team to play the onside kick game to try to win a football game, then your chance of victory are very, very high. And as you point out, I mean, I love to hear that as far as being in the position groups, being involved in everything. And it kind of goes back to this offseason we've talked about is Michael LaFleur and giving other guys the opportunity to really run the show while you can almost take more of a CEO type approach. I mean, Shula being a first-year defensive coordinator, having Sean McVay really have his energy and his culture-building skills and everything, it really speaks to what this organization is all about and why he's such a valuable HC. But, yeah, I mean, we had to talk about the defense a little bit because, like I said, they weren't great. They did make plays when you needed to, but there was a lot of big plays on the day. And look, the defense, they do need to be better, but I do want to kind of point some stuff. I mean, you're up 10-7 and you got that stop that led to the block punt that led to the score. And then they're up 24-14. They got that stop that kept the Bills out of the end zone before the half. So there was that big stop. And they also got a stop coming out of the half which allowed the offense to go and score and take a 17-point lead. So like I said, I mean, they were opportunistic when they needed to be, and it was really timely stops that really were the hallmark of this Rams defense that didn't. But you look at the box and you're like, man, that looks gross. You watch the game and it tells a different story.
Yeah, it does. And they actually did a really good job on Josh Allen for the first half of the game. And that's not nothing, right? To hold the MVP to what was just good and not great, I think is an accomplishment. I'm willing to hold any sort of criticism on the defense until this week, because Josh Allen did the thing, Doug. I mean, I've seen it happen 3 times in my life, where watching a football game and just thinking, there's no answer for what that person is doing. There is no answer for it. The first time ever was Vince Young in the Rose Bowl against USC, where every time he snapped it, he was getting 20 yards. And he was just the best player on the field, hands down. The second time was at the Coliseum with Lamar Jackson on Monday Night Football, where he just ran circles around the Rams. And it was Sunday afternoon at SoFi with Josh Allen. There's no way. He's 250 pounds. He's fast. He's got moves. He's a great quarterback. He makes great decisions. He throws the ball with touch, speed, accuracy. There's no answer for that. He's going to win the MVP by a mile. He should win it by a mile. He's amazing. So I will give the Rams defenders a very good I'll give them a lot of grace, because that dude, the 85 Bears weren't stopping that. That dude is a different cat.
Yeah, you don't sack him, too. I mean, he hadn't been sacked in the last 2 games. No. Heading into this one, he was elusive all day, tough to bring down. And like we said, the Rams got the stop on him that really mattered the most at the end, when they stuffed him on that 1-yard line to force that timeout. I will say I had mixed emotions about this one, considering that he gave me 51 fantasy points in a make-or-break game. So I was like, every time he would score, I'd be like, oh, darn. Oh, man. What?
As long as the Rams get one more than he has, it's all good.
Dream scenario. Everyone won. So, I mean, still, like, you have to have success against those type of quarterbacks if you want to win a Super Bowl. So I think it's a major confidence booster. And I think, too, a learning opportunity for this defense that has a lot of young talent that can kind of use this kind of as the foundation if they go into a deep run. I mean, Jared Goff, you might see him again, right? There's a lot of quarterbacks that you're going to be going against if you're going to make a deep run in the playoffs. But coming next, we're going to talk about those playoffs. We're going to keep breaking down this one. Rams beat the Bills above 500. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
All right, taking on the NFL and all of the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. How about this? Right now, if you're a new customer to FanDuel, you just bet $5 and you get $150 in bonus bets if you hit that first $5 bet, right? That's FanDuel Sportsbook app, and it's giving you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place, right? So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, you can view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you are placing your bets. But you got to go to FanDuel.com to join today, and you're going to get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And I'm just telling you, you do what you want to do. But if you had gone to FanDuel maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe a month or 2 ago, and looked at some NFC West odds for the Rams, you'd be sitting pretty good, because the Rams are going to make a run at this, but you can still do it. The Rams are still plus odds right now to win the NFC West. So go take a look at FanDuel. Make sure that you sign up with to get the $150 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So we'll continue to break this one down tomorrow as well. Winners and losers, lots to unpack on this one. But now it's kind of what's next for the Rams, because it's a quick turnaround. You go to San Francisco. San Francisco is playing good football once again. They're not out of the mix yet. And if you win this game against the 49ers on Thursday, your playoff odds for the first time in a long time are above 50% in that category for the Rams. So this would be massive. If you look at right now, kind of the good thing heading into this one was it was a game where losing it, the odds wouldn't drop as much as you benefiting from a win. And that's always a good thing because I told you that it wasn't a win or go home, a must win for the Rams. It was almost let's just take advantage of this opportunity. And right now, if you look at where the Rams are sitting as far as their playoff picture, I mean, you're right in the mix. And I think when you look at where this Rams team is, you're over 500. You're one game back from the Seahawks. You're 8th in the NFC, just one game back of the wild card spot and the division lead. And right now you're at 36%. So a 36% chance to win, and you have a 35% chance to win the division. So that really is their likeliest path through the NFC West. And entering week 14, the Rams, their odds were at 24%. If they had lost, they would have gone down to 18%. So you could have been at 18% today. Instead, you're at 36% today.
Yeah, look, this is going to come down to, if this plays out the way like it feels it's going to play out, it's going to come down to the last game of the year. The last game of the year is at SoFi Stadium. It's against the Seattle Seahawks. You have a game in hand against the Seahawks, and maybe you're still chasing them by a game, but you don't have to pass them. You just have to catch them, right? Because you're going to win the tiebreaker with that head-to-head with a win against them. So the Rams may have one of those Week 18 playoff games that's not a playoff game. We should all get ready to be on Sunday Night Football that night because that feels like that's the one division that's going to come down to the last game of the season. They're playing against each other, so it feels like that's very likely. But to your point, Doug, where the Buffalo game might not have swung the odds a whole bunch in a negative way, a loss to San Francisco changes everything, right? That is a game you have to have. The game against the Jets, all of a sudden, that felt a little trappy because you got to fly across the country. The Jets are terrible, but they're always kind of in the game too. So that is the one that even if the world blew up and you lost that game, it doesn't kill your season, right? You still have a chance to survive, whereas had you lost to Buffalo, you didn't have a chance to do that. So take care of these 3 division games remaining, and the Rams are going to go to the playoffs. Now, it's not easy. It's 3 division games. San Francisco's always been a challenge for them. But I really do like their chances, and I especially like their chances with the way that they've played most recently. But again, this Rams team has been all over the map all season long, but they finally put together a really sharp offensive performance, and I'm optimistic going into San Francisco.
No doubt about it. And as you pointed out with the Seahawks, that it really is about staying one game back of the Seahawks. That really is the plan for the rest of the day. If you can keep pace and stay one game back because you beat them, you got that very valuable road win, Demarcus Robinson overtime walk-off touchdown catch. Because of that, you put yourself in a position where you could win at home and get in. And I think, too, the other big thing is now you go up 2 spots in the NFC as well. So that really is the biggest key. You have a chance to win the division in your season finale at home, which you point out, you're probably going to get flexed in to a game that is going to be a big-time national game there. And look, that Seahawks team is improved. The defense got a lot better. But give me Sean McVay, give me Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, all these guys playing their best football of the season at home with a chance to get in the playoffs. That's a dub, man. That's a dub. I'll call it right now. If that's the case, they are winning that football game.
They got to get there first, right? I agree with you. If they get to that game with a chance to go to the playoffs with the win, I'm with you. I think that is a really positive outcome for the Rams. But getting there, I think, is the trickier part, right? Arizona thrashed them in the early part of the season. Now, they're a different team, and the Rams are a different team. San Francisco, maybe missing a bunch of guys. San Francisco. They're still the 49ers. They're still going to be there, and they're going to be a challenge. So if they get to that point where beat Seattle and you're in, I love it. I love their chances in that scenario. Getting there, I think, is the trickier part.
Yeah, I needed that, Travis, honestly. I mean, to speak of a former Seahawk, Marshawn Lynch, I was counting my chickens, man. Yeah. I can't count my chickens, man. You know what I mean? So you're right. Let's get there first. And you're still extremely relevant this part of the season. That's what I always love. But still, I mean, things are ascending for this Rams team. They get that big win against the Buffalo Bills. But we'll be back tomorrow to keep breaking this one down. Before you know, we're talking TNF. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. You can follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.